Hello, East Church. My name is Reverend Laurie Crelly, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself to you and give you a chance to get to know me a little bit more. I've just had a wonderful tour of this beautiful, beautiful facility, congregational setting that you have here, and I'm excited about the opportunity to come and see you all face to face. Masks on, of course, but face to face in the coming weeks. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Minnesota. My mom's side of the family were gardeners, and my mom was a nurse. My dad's side of the family came from Cedar Rapids and Milwaukee, and he was also long into the medical field, worked as a fire chief, taught EMT classes, and started the Hennepin County Sheriff's Rescue, which was a rescue company for the Hennepin County District in Minnesota. I have 4 siblings, a sister and three other brothers. I'm the middle child, and I grew up all my life in Golden Valley, Minnesota, which is a western suburb of Minneapolis. In my early years, I came to my sense of faith in my Catholic background with my family, but eventually, as I came into my teens, I discovered a charismatic community, charismatic church called Jesus People Church that was located in downtown Minneapolis at the Old State Theater. In that church, I learned about the use of drama and music to present the gospel and to use many forms of arts and entertainment to preach the gospel and share that. And I have a passion to use those things in ministry even into today. Once in a while, I may even do a character sermon. If you like that, that is a lot of fun for me to do when I get a chance. Amy, my wife, and I got married in 2017 and have been together since then. She is also in ministry. She is a graduate of Eden Seminary and is studying to become an ordained minister in either the United Church of Christ or the Unitarian Universalist Church. She most recently has been serving Unitarian churches in Alton and in Springfield, Illinois. She's also an accomplished writer and is about to have a book published by Pilgrim Press. We also have 2 children in the family. Laura, our oldest, is 23 and is finishing up college, and our son Oliver, who will be staying down in Illinois in Alton, is an accomplished musician, drummer, and has a wonderful band called Lofty's Comet. I've already cut a couple of albums and are looking to do more. It's kind of a jazz fusion style sound, and he enjoys it immensely. I love pets. I have 2 cats and a dog, and I've always had pets in my life. Some personal things you may want to know about me is my family, my mom's side of the family, were gardeners and florists. I inherited some of that green thumb. I don't say that it's the best green thumb, but I enjoy getting in the garden. I enjoy vegetable gardens best and love to get my hands dirty. And so that is a passion. That's a place where I find grounding in my spiritual walk. I also enjoy cooking and experimenting with new recipes. My wife and I enjoy playing around in the kitchen and experimenting, trying new things. Our favorite TV show, in fact, is The British Bake Off. Other interests, walking, getting exercise, spending time with family, puzzle building, and being outdoors is my greatest joy. Being from Minnesota, I love the snow and winter as much as I love the summer and the water. And that's one of the joys that I see about Michigan also, is that it feels like home. It feels like Minnesota in many ways. In my teens, I went through a dark period of my life where both of my parents died. My father died when I was 16, and my mom died when I was 19. But through that experience, through that time, I learned about the importance of going through grief and experiencing grief in healing and restorative ways. And as part of my ministry today is to help people as they go through the grieving process. As something that I'll bring here as part of my ministry is to walk with people in their time of grief. When I was 19, after high school, I went on to be a missionary in Germany, West Germany at that time, in a town called Wesel, which is part of the Westphalia district in the western side of Germany. There I learned to speak German. I was fluent back then. I can do all right now, but I was fluent back at the time and was actually a translator in my second year there. Came back to the States, went to North Central Bible College, which was an evangelical Assemblies of God school, and began my work to study to be a missionary. My intent was to go back to Germany and continue the ministry I'd started there with Christuszentrum Ruhrgebiet, which was the name of the church. But as I started to work on those issues and as I started to mature and grow, I started to realize that a part of my identity was struggling to be understood more thoroughly. And eventually I came out and identified as a lesbian. That was a major shift in my ministry and my walk with God, and went through quite a spiritual crisis during that time, struggling to understand that and to make sense of that in light of my evangelical Christian background. But God's grace and God's provision led me to the United Church of Christ. Friends of mine had told me to check out Lindale UCC in South Minneapolis, and going there I found a newfound faith, a group of people that were passionate about Scripture, passionate about faith, and also loved and cared for the LGBT community. And it was through that congregation and their connection to the local United Seminary in New Brighton, Minnesota, that I began to go back to school and started seminary at United Theological Seminary of the Twin Cities. Wonderful school to go to and to experience faith and to reconstruct, to work through my theological differences and the struggles that I was facing. My first call after finishing seminary was with Parkview United Church of Christ in White Bear, Minnesota. In that church, I was the Christian education coordinator and director, and worked to build up their children's ministry and led the confirmation class through those. Every summer we took mission trips to different parts of the United States, and I loved that congregation, still have great connections there, and really helped shape my ministry in areas of Christian education and development. They also had a passion, as you do, in music ministry, and had a bell choir, a chancel choir, and on occasion, special music being brought in, like the Matamidai Orchestra coming in and performing beautiful pieces of music as our worship service. As another aspect of my ministry that I hope to see inform the work that we're doing here is how we can use music and drama and the arts to proclaim the gospel and to feed our spiritual needs. During my seminary years, I also was a pharmacy technician and worked in specialized pharmacy and long-term care. Some of the specialty areas that I worked in were diabetes, managed care, injectables, HIV, and oncology. Part of the work that I did in the latter years of my work in the pharmacy was working at an HIV clinic and helping the HIV community in the LGBT community of South Minneapolis. That was a passionate part of my ministry and work, intersecting both the pharmacy and my call to ministry in helping and caring for the community of needing long-term care. My second call to ministry was in Rochester, Minnesota, where the Mayo Clinic is, and worked at the Congregational Church UCC of Rochester. There I also, again, did youth ministry programming and summer outreach programs. I also helped lead worship often in that congregation. There again, the music and the arts was a passionate part of the ministry we did there. As I finished that ministry, I began to search for a new call and decided and felt led of God to seek out a solo pastorate, which finally eventually brought me to Brighton, Illinois, in southern Illinois, down by St. Louis, if you've ever been that way. Beautiful small congregation in a rural setting, about 40 miles outside of St. Louis. In that ministry, I've learned what it's like to serve a family-sized church, to work with farmers and rural people in the ministry, to understand the needs of rural America and to understand the needs of a farming economy. But in that ministry, what was wonderful about it is we also became an open and affirming congregation while I was there. They had begun the work before I came, but once I came, we finished the process of open and affirming study and took a vote to become an open and affirming congregation. That opened up our congregation to receive and to see more and more people from the community seek out our support, seek out a place of fellowship and worship that they felt comfortable in. Not just LGBT people, but also family members who had LGBT family. They would come and participate and say, finally I have a place that I can call home. We started a youth ministry there for the LGBT community and had upwards of 15 or 20 kids coming from around the area to participate in our monthly get-togethers. It was a wonderful place for them to feel at home and to be comfortable with others and to be able to talk about what it's like to be gay, bisexual, transgender, or lesbian. Many of the kids identified as genderqueer, and we were able to help them work through those issues during that time and beyond. Many of the kids are still in contact with us now that they're in their college years and seeking to continue their work in other parts of the community. One of the other areas of ministry that I also worked on at St. John's was around community organizing, as a skill that I actually developed back during my seminary days and my first years at Parkview, working on issues like homelessness, transportation rights, LGBT rights, fighting against the First Amendment, fighting against an amendment resolution that was trying to be passed in the Minnesota legislature that would have forbidden us to allow same-sex marriage. I worked passionately in those areas, and again later when the 2012 campaign took off in Minnesota, that eventually opened the door for marriage rights to become law across the nation. I love and enjoy doing that kind of collaborative community ministry work to help improve our community and to see and to seek out ways of working together with churches and community organizing ministries to work on important issues. That is another skill that I hope to bring to Grand Rapids and to this congregation, to work together with our social justice team and ministering to the needs of our community, whether it be around homeless rights or African American civil rights and Black Lives Matter, LGBT rights, and advocating for equality and ecological health of our community. There are many, many things that we can work on together, and I hope to become your pastor and to be part of the leadership in helping this congregation reach out and impact and change the needs of this community, and to see this congregation become a beacon of hope for this community today. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. May God be with you, and you are in my prayers.